The world thought his journey was over, but legends don't quit when life knocks them down. Every setback became fuel.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to another Explainer, where we take fascinating sources, absolutely distill them down, and give you the genius within so you can grasp it immediately. Today, we're exploring a breathtaking narrative inspired by, well, one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century, Bruce Lee. Specifically, we're looking at the anatomy of his greatest comeback. It really made us wonder, how exactly does a warrior rebuild themselves when the entire world just writes them off? Let's figure it out together.
Every legend faces a moment when the world believes it's over. We so often look at icons, athletes, historical legends, and we just kind of assume their path was this straight, unbroken line right to the top. But the material we're examining today taps into a deeply universal, and honestly, a deeply human experience. Back in 1970, Bruce Lee suffered a severe sacral nerve injury while doing a routine weightlifting exercise called Good Mornings. Doctors literally told him he might never practice martial arts again. When you are staring down the barrel of a career-ending injury like that, the world absolutely might think you're done, but that is the exact moment your true test begins.
Section 1. The Fall Before Rising. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we reframe the pain of failure. Look, every single journey toward greatness inevitably includes profound moments of doubt and sheer exhaustion. Picture the scene painted in our sources: a martial artist sitting entirely alone in the quiet shadows of a dojo after a physically devastating diagnosis. You simply cannot have that spectacular rise without first experiencing that quiet, painful fall. When we hit those moments of doubt, we usually encounter an obstacle, and we tend to think of it as a defining limitation, right? A concrete wall that just stops us in our tracks. But let's look at it differently. An obstacle isn't a limitation. It's an event where your response reveals the true nature of a warrior. Your response to those obstacles, especially in that darkest moment, well, that's where your true character is completely exposed.
Moving right along to Section 2. Training the unstoppable mind.
When a severe physical injury literally takes you out of the game, man, it is so incredibly easy to think that the work just has to stop. But actually, scratch that. The true work must immediately begin internally. You face a stark contrast here. When the physical pacing of your body is forced to slow down to a complete halt, the mind absolutely must become your greatest weapon. You are presented with a binary choice. You can let your mind atrophy right alongside your muscles, or you can begin to sharpen it. When Bruce Lee's physical output was halted by his back injury, he didn't just surrender. His mental output became his relentless focus. The physical limitation actually unleashes the limitless potential of a focused mind.
So, what does this mental sharpening actually look like in practice? Well, the sources paint a picture of daily opportunities amidst the slowdown. When you are forced to pause, every single day spent sidelined becomes a vital opportunity. First up, to study deeply. Confined to bed rest, Lee famously read heavily, diving deep into philosophy like the works of Jiddu Krishnamurti. Second, to reflect internally. You have to look inward to really understand your deepest motivations. And third, to prepare for the next challenge. He spent this time writing volumes of notes that would eventually become the foundational text of his martial art, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Sideline days aren't wasted days. They're the architectural blueprints for your return.
Which brings us to Section 3, Building the Comeback.
So the crucial point is this. A comeback isn't one dramatic moment. It's built through countless small victories. We move from that quiet, internal, philosophical preparation back out into external, physical action. The storm clouds start clearing, and the definitive return begins. But that internal blueprinting leads to a really vital realization. We all love the cinematic movie montage, right? The 2 minutes where the hero goes from broken to totally unstoppable. But reality? Reality is very different. Epic comebacks are not these glamorous leaps. They are a slow, highly methodical accumulation of tiny, almost invisible wins that eventually tip the scales back in your favor.
Let's walk through those micro-victories together. Step 1. One step. Literally just getting out of bed despite the agonizing back pain. Step 2. One workout. Instead of his explosive, high-flying kicks, Lee had to meticulously modify his routines. He incorporated acupuncture, gentle stretching, and tiny, incremental movements just to eventually return to the wooden dummy. And step 3, one decision at a time. It is all about disciplined repetition, choosing to endure the slow, frustrating rehabilitation today, and then waking up and making that exact same choice tomorrow. You do not teleport to the top of the mountain. No way. You take one agonizingly deliberate step at a time, until suddenly, you're looking down at the clouds.
Moving on to Section 4. Wiser,
calmer, and stronger.
And this brilliantly illustrates that a true comeback doesn't return you to your old self. Think about it. You've endured the devastating fall, you've trained the unstoppable mind in the quiet shadows, you've stacked up all those countless small victories, and now you stand on the other side of the fire. But who is the person standing there? If a comeback just returned you to your old self, you'd be vulnerable to the exact same fall. The person who fell is not the same as the one who rises. This grueling process upgrades you. You become a vastly superior version of yourself. The scars you've earned make you wiser, the immense patience you had to practice makes you calmer, and the sheer force of will you exerted to climb out of the dark, that makes you immeasurably stronger than you ever were before.
Bringing us to Section 5, a mind that never quits.
This narrative goes so far beyond a single martial artist's physical recovery. Bruce Lee's greatest comeback wasn't simply about returning to action for personal glory. It evolved into a philosophy, an enduring framework for living. Persistence is stronger than defeat. It's a deceptively simple truth, but it holds a massive amount of power when you apply it to any setback or roadblock in your own life. Defeat is merely an event. It's just a moment in time. But persistence? That is a continuous, unrelenting force. If you refuse to stop moving forward, even if that forward movement is just a millimeter a day, defeat literally cannot hold you down. The sheer physics of persistence will always, eventually, break the chains of defeat.
Let's move on and see how this builds into an enduring legacy. The source material outlines 3 massive impacts of this unstoppable mindset. First, inspiring generations to believe. When people witness someone overcome the impossible, it basically gives them permission to believe they can do the exact same thing. Second, uniting people through discipline, creating a global community tied together by hope and hard work. And third, proving that every setback carries the seed of a comeback. Here's a mind-blowing fact for you. Bruce Lee's most famous, world-conquering film, Enter the Dragon, wasn't made before this career-ending injury. It came after it. Hidden inside his absolute worst failure was the exact seed needed for his greatest success.
Which brings us to the ultimate mantra of the unstoppable mind. Fall, rise, never quit. It's the rhythmic, driving heartbeat of resilience. You will fall. That's a guarantee in this life. But you must rise. And above all else, no matter how many times that cycle repeats itself, you must never, ever quit.
I'll leave you with this final provocative thought extracted right from the narrative we've explored today. The question isn't whether you will fall. The question is whether you will rise again. Take that question with you. Apply this resilient, unstoppable mindset to your own challenges, your own dojo, whatever that looks like for you. Thank you for joining this explainer. And until next time, keep building your comeback.